evidence, I just wanted to make sure the camera was rolling here. We're on the grounds of Ringwood Manor State Park, and at one time this was a private property. It's owned now by the state of New Jersey, and this whole area here, as I mentioned, was pre-colonial. It was colonial. During colonial times, we know that New Jersey was played such an integral role in the early colonies, particularly though during the American Revolution. Now, all through this area here were iron mines. It was a type of iron, it was a raw iron that was used and put into forges that were all through this area here. And then the iron was used for cannons, cannonballs, and muskets and everything else during the American Revolution, including some other important things. Now, there were a number of people that lived and owned this property, and also had iron mines through this area and forges. One of the first was a Peter Henchkleber. He was here in the 1750s and 60s, and he had an iron mine and an iron forge. And then after him we had a Ryle, and then finally we had, during the American Revolution, we had Robert Erskine, who was a surveyor and wound up joining George Washington's team, and he was a surveyor for George Washington and the American Revolution, and helped us win the American Revolution. Across the way here is a grist mill. As you can see, we'll take a walk down there, but if you will follow me here, we'll go over to the actual manor house, which they are working on, the grounds here. They are doing some work on it, so that's why unfortunately we can't get too close to it. But you can see this is this manor there is based on an old English manor home, and we know that George Washington actually stayed here a number of times with Robert Erskine, and when the Henchklebers and the Ryles owned this property and owned this home. Now, this home wasn't always this big. It was actually expanded when Cooper and Hewitt families purchased this property and used this home here as their summer home. Again, they're working on it. They're renovating it, which is a great thing. And so it was used as a summer home for the Hewitt family for many years, and the wife of John Hewitt expanded this into, I think it's about 30 or 40 rooms, and then eventually it was sold to the state of New Jersey. Now, if we go over here, very important, remember I told you that the iron mines were very integral for helping to win the American Revolution. And this is some of the things that the iron was made from. These cannons were used during the American Revolution. They are made of iron, and of course most of that iron came from the iron mines in this area here, in this Ringwood area, in the mountainous area. Now, I want to point out something very, very important right here. We have a chain. You look at this chain here, there's about 30 or 40 links to this chain. This chain actually stretched across the Hudson River and prevented the British from sailing up the Hudson and reaching the military academy at West Point, which they wanted to go to and destroy, okay? Because even during the American Revolution, the military academy at West Point was a very important part of our United States military service. So it was Robert Erskine's idea to forge this chain here, and again, a lot of this iron came from the very mountains that we're looking at right now. And this chain was laid, part of it was laid across the Hudson River up near West Point. This is only a small part of that massive chain. Now, if we walk down this way over here, we have a mortar, okay? And this mortar right here, if we turn our camera, this is actually, again, iron that was taken from the iron mines here in Ringwood. This is when the Hewitt family owned this area. and in the manor home. This is actually not a Revolutionary War mortar cannon. This is actually a Civil War, okay, which we'll be studying, you know, down the road. This is a Civil War mortar, okay. So the iron mines were going, and all the way up to the time of the Civil War and a little bit after that. And if we come down here, and you can see more of the manor home right here. Right. And right here we have, this was actually designed by Robert Erskine. What it was, and it's a, this is what they used to wind the chain up with down here. But this thing right here was an idea of Robert Erskine's, and what they would do is he designed it to put into the Hudson River. And when ships would come up, they would run into this thing, and it actually ripped the bottom of the ship open, and the ship would sink. So that was an idea of Robert Erskine's right here. Again, all this iron here, this raw iron, and we know that Great Britain came, and one of the reasons why they wanted to settle the northern part of the United States, which eventually became the 13 colonies, it was because of its rich natural resources, and iron was one of that part of that rich natural resource. Ironically, we wound up using it against Great Britain during the time of the American Revolution. We'll move around to the front of the manor house right here. Okay, we can see that there's what was once an outdoor porch has been enclosed, and the family used to use that as a, again, this was a summer residence, and that would open and they would sit in there and have their tea and so forth. And this is a well. Back in those days, people would draw water from wells, and legend has it, I don't know how true it is, I've asked many times, but legend has it that those pictures right there, the things that go into the well and draw the water, are actually British helmets, old British helmets. So anyway, an interesting story. It's never been proven, but you know, who knows. And okay, we walk around the back side of the manor house here, and what was very popular back then, and it's a carryover from British times, from the manors in Great Britain, were the gardens, informal gardens, which you see over here, and here's some of the former gardens right here. And there are fountains and gardens and so on and so forth. Anyway, all this now is maintained by the Park Service that takes care of this area right here. Anyway, maybe we'll take a walk over to and visit Robert Erskine. He's still here on the grounds. He's actually buried here in a small cemetery. So again, just to recap, Ringwood played a vital role in the American Revolution, something that we've been studying because of the natural resources in the mountains here, the iron and raw iron mined out of these mountains and then forged by people like Peter Henchkleffer and Ryle and Robert Erskine, okay, and then eventually the Cooper and Hewitt families. So there you have it. We're up here in the Northern Highlands. It's a beautiful area. Maybe someday you'll get to come up here and walk around and see the grounds for yourself. Okay, I might make another short video and maybe visit the grave of Robert Erskine, which is right across the way here. Okay, I'm signing off, and that was our lesson for now, and we'll discuss more in class the significance of this and the Northern Highlands region and the iron ore used to help win the American Revolution. Okay, and if I look over there, maybe I could see George Washington himself peering out or peeking out one of the windows. Okay. Anyway, all right, signing off for now, and we'll talk further in this session in class.